Hi friends, it's Ryan. Thanks so much for joining me for today's daily devotional. A couple of weeks ago, the world lost one of the strongest voices for justice that we have had in generations. Congressman John Lewis was a black man who was born in the American South, who marched with Dr. King, who spoke on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial at the March on Washington, and who was eventually elected to the House of Representatives as a congressman from Georgia. One of the things that I love about John Lewis is the phrase that he would often say, good trouble. Get in good trouble. Over the course of his life, in the course of his career, John Lewis was arrested many times, even while he was a sitting United States representative. But what does that phrase mean, good trouble? And is that a phrase that we as Christians can really cling to? One of the examples in the Bible that I've found of getting in good trouble is actually Jesus. There are many times recorded in the Gospels where Jesus looked at a law or an interpretation of a law that was unjust and broke it. He saw something that was technically legal but immoral, and he chose the side of morality. For instance, there's one story where Jesus walks into a synagogue and sees a man whose hand is withered and is in need of healing. But it's the Sabbath, and some of the teachers are looking to see if Jesus will break the Sabbath to heal the man. And without pause, Jesus does it. Jesus breaks the Sabbath in order to heal the man, and those teachers find fault with that. Now, just as a sidebar, it's really crucial with this story not to go in an anti-Semitic direction with it. This is not a story about Judaism or about Jewishness. In fact, Jewish scholars over the centuries have written pages and pages about how it is righteous to break the Sabbath in order to heal. That is a good thing. That is something that people are required to do, to help people on the Sabbath. This, it's important to remember, was one interpretation of the law by a few people at that time. And Jesus saw that interpretation as harmful and broke it. So, what does that leave for us then as people who follow Jesus? Are we supposed to break laws? Are we supposed to get in the way of the law? What does good trouble look like for us? For John Lewis, it did look like breaking laws. Every time he was arrested, he used that moment to speak out against a law that was unjust or an interpretation of a law that was unjust. And he always, even though he was sometimes on the wrong side of the law, found himself on the right side of morality. That doesn't mean that you need to go down to your local police precinct today and break the law in some meaningful way. But what it does mean is that we need to be looking at the way our society is structured. We need to be looking at the laws that are being enforced and the ways that they are being enforced and thinking about the difference between legality and morality. Some things that are legal are not moral. And those of us that have the power and the privilege to change the system are required to do so. Sometimes that means breaking the system in order to do it. That is the example of John Lewis. So friends, today, I want you to look around at the way that our society is structured. The laws that are on the books, things like redlining and housing, the way that wealth inequality and wealth disparity is racially motivated. Look at the laws that are on the books, and let's use our voices to stand up, just like John Lewis, and get in good trouble for the sake of justice.